So we're going to get started, everyone. My name is Rabbi Julie Roth, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Jewish Life, and I'm here with 3 students, and we're excited to tell you a little bit about Jewish life on campus and then to answer your questions. So Marie Rose, would you be willing to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Marie Rose. I'm a first year here. I'm a prospective major in the Woodrow Wilson School. At the CJL, I'm the prospective students chair, so I'm in charge of talking to anyone interested in coming here. And outside of Jewish life on campus, I spend a lot of time with the newspaper, the Daily Princetonian. I write for their news section. So we're gonna say like favorite things, a favorite thing about the CJL, and then like a favorite specific program that's happened. So I think probably my favorite thing about the CJL is the conservative minyan community, which is called Koach. I really wasn't particularly observant growing up, but it was something that I was interested in making a bigger part of my life in college, and it's just been a super welcoming community, and Friday night services are just, really welcoming and open to everyone. So I go to those every week. And then a favorite program, I'd say probably the study breaks that we host. Every Monday night we have really awesome opportunities to relax, eat some good free food, hang out with friends, meet new people, and it's just a great way to take a little break from studying and be with the community.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Gabi. I'm a junior in the economics department. I'm from Chevy Chase, Maryland. And on campus, I'll start with non-CJL things to spice it up a little bit. Through a variety of different projects, I'm currently an RCA, a residential college advisor, in Butler College in 1915 Hall. And then for CJL, I've been in a number of leadership positions and currently serve as the president of the CJL student board. And so my favorite thing about the CJL is the Shabbat community, and just Shabbat in general. And I'll tell you that I had to call dibs on that favorite thing because it's their favorite things as well. So on Shabbat, we started off with amazing, as Marie Rose said, these services, and then we get tons and tons of people who come for dinner. We get up to 300, 310 people at our Shabbat dinners every week, and it's been really incredible. You see the whole community together, eating these communal meals, and singing and talking, and we have different themes, and they've been really, really incredible. And then translate that through to Shabbat day for those who are interested. There's also an amazing community of people who sit around the CJL and play board games or just talk and hang out, go on walks, throw a football around in our backyard. It's really amazing. And then my favorite program we did is this past year we had unbelievable Hanukkah celebration where we got the band to play and had like fried Oreos in the basement, fried Oreos and Snickers. That was really amazing. And then we've also done, we also had a Lakta Hamantashen debate, which was moderated by the president of the university, and had students prepare like debate sides. It was comical and it was awesome.
Yeah, so I'm Ariel. I'm a sophomore in the psychology department. I recently declared. Yeah, it was exciting. It happened like last week. But on campus, I am the secretary of the 2021 class government. And in my Jewish campus community, I'm involved in both Chabad and CJL. So for Chabad, I am the treasurer of the student board. And for the CJL, I am a community engagement intern, which is my favorite program as well. It's a program where I am a representative for the CJL, and I get to take students out to a coffee or something and engage them in a Jewish way and like talk to them about Judaism and their experiences on campus. So that's really fun. I get to meet a lot of freshmen, and more than that, but mostly freshmen, and talk to them about how they're experiencing Jewish life on campus. And then my favorite thing about the Jewish community is definitely like the environment in this building. For people who've been to this building, you can probably understand where there's a lot of study spaces here, and there's always snacks available. So I often come here to study or to hang out, to get like advice from people on what courses to take, which is really welcome. It's just like a really, really welcoming environment that I've really appreciated here.
So I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of Jewish life on campus, and then we're going to respond to questions that you might have. There's 450 Jewish undergraduates at Princeton, and one of the things that makes our community so special is there's so many different ways to get involved. Just at the Center for Jewish Life alone, there's 40 different leadership positions, everything from being involved in baking challah and selling it to help people who are hungry in the local community, to a basketball team called Gefilte Swish, and a play and an a cappella singing group, and different Israel-related groups, and the student board, and different religious communities. And so you can get formally involved through one of these leadership opportunities. There's also an incubator where you can create your own programs. And what's wonderful is that we have great Shabbat and holiday celebrations like the students talked about. We just celebrated Passover Seder on campus with lots of different student-led Seders and rabbi-led Seders. I myself am one of 5 rabbis on campus. I'm a conservative rabbi. There's 2 other rabbis here at the Center for Jewish Life, as well as 2 Chabad rabbis on campus. And so there's a lot of Shabbat and holiday stuff going on. There's also a lot of opportunities to do Jewish learning, including through traveling. I led a wonderful trip to Argentina this past winter break. We also had a trip to Israel with Ambassador Daniel Kurtzer, who used to be the U.S. ambassador to both Israel and Egypt. And I think there's a big emphasis on building personal relationships, both student to student, like the program that Ariel is in, or being through the student leaders, and also staff to student. We have different service programs like Challah for Hunger, but also the opportunity to do service internships between your freshman and sophomore year, and a lot of different opportunities to travel to Israel or to get involved with Israel programming on campus. Our annual Yom HaAtzmaut Israel Independence Day barbecue is coming up in just a few weeks, for example. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved, and the Jewish students at Princeton come from really a very wide variety of Jewish backgrounds. Some come from secular backgrounds, some religious, some have identify as Reformed, Conservative, or Orthodox. Students of all different gender backgrounds and sexual orientations. And one of the great things about the Center for Jewish Life is it's a home for Jewish students on campus, whether they have 1 Jewish parent or 2 Jewish parents, whatever their background. So now we'll take questions. So the first question looks like is about kosher food on campus. The question is, how does kosher food work on campus?
I can go for that one. So kosher food works in probably the best way possible. The CJL hosts a kosher dining hall, which serves 3 meals a day, 2 on weekends, like every other university dining hall. So it is part of your meal plan. So that's the great thing, is that when you're required at Princeton to get a meal plan coming in as a freshman and sophomore, and the CJL, the kosher dining hall, is just part of that for every student. Same as your dining hall in your residential college or anywhere else. So which means that if you keep kosher and want to eat all 3 meals of your day here, you can do that. If you don't keep kosher but like eating with Jews and non-Jews, you can do that here. Or if you keep kosher in a way that, you know, in your own way, or in a different way like I do, then you can do that here as well. And you can eat with your campus community, right? So you can do it with people who aren't Jewish, who don't keep kosher. You don't have to make that choice of whether to like only be with people who keep kosher, or only be with people who don't need the kosher dining hall. It's part of what creates this vibrant and connected community where people across observance backgrounds and across Jewish backgrounds come together to create this community. It comes from, I think, to a large part, the amazingness that we have this dining hall, which is open to everyone.
So I already have another question popping up, but I just want to remind everyone who's on the call that if you have questions you want to ask, just type them into the chat box and we'll answer them as they come in. The next question is, what is the Jewish LGBT life like at Princeton?
So I can speak to that. So I'm not personally part of the LGBT community, but there was an LGBTQ Shabbat recently. It was called Pride Shabbat, where we had, it was just about awareness and opening the community to everyone. And I wasn't at Shabbat dinner, so maybe Marie Rose or Gabi can speak to that. But I was at a Saturday day panel where we had a bunch of Jewish LGBTQ plus community members who spoke about what their experience is like being part of the Jewish community and other communities on campus as well, and how their identities played a role in that. So I think talking to them a little bit, it was really based on what they were saying, it's a really open place at the CJL where you can be whoever you want, whatever you want. No one cares. We're all really accepting. I don't know if you want to speak about the dinner, Gabi, at all.
Sure, I can. Yeah, so at dinner we had a bunch of breakout sessions, which were led by students, which I thought was really fascinating. Questions about how does queerness fit into the Torah? How does people's queerness inform their Jewish values? How do Jewish values integrate with sort of some of the social justice struggles which have been going on surrounding queerness? And these were, I think these really, for the people who attended those, were really incredible. And even if you couldn't make it into these sessions, even for our main Shabbat dinner, it was decorated in rainbow colors, and there was a toast beforehand by a queer member of our community, and it was really, I think, a powerful message that this is an accepting place, an accepting community, that you can come to the CJL as you are, who you are, and we're not trying to change you or make you anything different, that we're excited for who you are. We're excited to meet you.
So the next question is, when you come in as a freshman to Princeton, if you want to get involved with Jewish life, how do you get involved?
Freshman?
Well, there's a bunch of events at right off the bat that kind of show you what Jewish life is like on campus. And honestly, one of the easiest things to do is just to start coming to the CJL for meals and for study breaks and for various fun events. September is also a great time because obviously a lot of Jewish holidays are going on. So I remember right at the beginning of my freshman year, I was spending a lot of time at the CJL and with other Jewish groups just by virtue of it being the high holidays. And so immediately some of my closest friends were in the Jewish community. Also, there's, at the beginning of the year, just like there's a huge activities fair for all sorts of extracurriculars on campus, the CJL hosts its own activities fair for all sorts of student groups affiliated with the CJL, like its own a cappella group, its own various learning groups, service groups, etc. And you can kind of go around the fair and see what piques your interest and join those various communities.
So this next question is about Jewish learning on campus. I'm going to actually combine two of the questions that I'm seeing pop up. Can you talk about Jewish learning on campus, both in terms of classes you can take through Judaic Studies and also in terms of classes that are offered informally through the CJL or Chabad?
Yeah. So the CJL, or I'll start with Judaic Studies. Right, Princeton has a language requirement. So I think the first thing that many people do is they'll often take, if they've had some Hebrew experience, or if they haven't, there's Hebrew classes offered, it's a 4-semester sequence, like every other language, to pass through your language requirements. And you can, if you have some Hebrew proficiency from before, you can sort of pass out or get into one of the upper level classes. So that's what I did. I took a semester of Hebrew here, which was fun. I learned a lot about Semitic languages. I don't know how much Hebrew I learned necessarily, but I learned a lot about Semitic languages, which was interesting. And then afterwards, there's all these Judaic Studies classes, higher level modern Hebrew literature, introduction to great Jewish texts. It's a full department that you can get a certificate in and do research in as well. And then CJL hosts a wide range of classes, which I'll let my wonderful panelists talk about.
Yeah, so I participated in a course through CJL with Rabbi Julie. This, I think, was last semester. It was called, oh gosh, what was it called? It was called like Life is a Sacred Gift. Did I get it right? Yeah. So it was about, it was a group of, it was probably about like 15 students. We met once a week and talked about appreciating like the smaller things in your life and making things more meaningful by looking at things differently and like in a more positive light than you necessarily would otherwise. I also participated in a course at Chabad last year called Sinai Scholars, which was more like biblically oriented and focused on like learning about different holidays and different themes in Judaism.
So in addition, there's a Bar Bat Mitzvah program for students who didn't have a Bar Bat Mitzvah program before they came to college. I studied Jewish humor with somebody who wants to be a stand-up comedian, but there's also been some more traditional B'nai Mitzvah students. And in addition, there's a wonderful class called the Jewish Learning Fellowship, which is
also part of this year. Yeah.
Do you want to say something about it?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that also. No, of course. It's led by a wonderful educator we have here too, Rabbi Ira, just to also answer another quick question that came up, which is there a Reform rabbi? Yes, there is. And it's just, the fellowship is 10 classes in the fall semester over dinner where you get to bond with other freshmen and kind of dip your toe into Jewish learning. It was a way that I met a lot of friends and got to have some really interesting conversations.
I'll also add that there's a OU JLIC couple, so in partnership with the Orthodox Union, which and together they they run and organize a wide range of educational events that are that come from staff. So they host weekly lunch and learns and classes that they call shirim that happen on Shabbat and during the week, as well as the religious groups, the conservative and Orthodox, and often will run their own learning events that are student driven and student initiated, which are amazing as well, with guest speakers who come from out of town and who to stay at CJL, scholars in residence, and other amazing things.
So we have a few more questions that have already been posted, but I just want to remind anyone who's on the webinar with us to feel free to just toss out any questions that you might have. No question is a question that we wouldn't be happy to answer. So here's another question that came up. The question is, are there many culturally Jewish students on campus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many. Yeah, definitely. For me, last year, I noticed that obviously I had my friends from the Jewish community, from like going to Shabbat dinners and stuff like that. And then just meeting people around campus, I would find that I'd be in conversation with this person. And then like at the end of the conversation, I find out that they were Jewish. And there's just so many people around campus that aren't necessarily participating in more religious experiences, like at the CJL, but you'll be in conversation with them and they'll mention something like, oh, I went home for Passover, or like, oh, I like had my bar mitzvah there, or I went to Israel, and you're like, oh wow, like there are a lot more Jewish students on campus than you think, and they all participate in Judaism in their own way.
100%.
So another question that came up is, can you request a roommate who keeps Shabbat in a traditional way, who's Shomer Shabbat?
Your sophomore, junior, and senior year, you can go into room draw, which is like the room selection process, with whoever you want. As a sophomore, with whoever you want in your residential college, and which there's almost certain to be someone who is Shomer Shabbat in that group. And if there isn't, there's also likely to be singles available in your residential college. And then junior and senior year, for sure, yes. Freshman year, you can request, it's random roommates based on a sheet signing thing that they make you fill out. And then they literally, I was told this the other day that I didn't realize, they literally, like there's someone who sits in a room with everyone's like housing survey and literally will like place you in rooms with people in the ways that they think will be the best fit for you. And apparently it's super successful and people are friends for life. I got placed with a really great roommate myself, and only myself. But the answer to that is no. But I do know of situations where, if available, you can write in the housing survey, I'm Shomer Shabbat, and I, for my religious observances, would feel most comfortable in a single, and they'll take them into account. Does that mean you'll get a single? Not necessarily, but I've heard of cases where that's been an important factor in helping the person who sits there assigning rooms make their decision.
And I've certainly heard students say that it's been very valuable for them to have roommates from very different backgrounds. I think one of the things I love about Princeton is that they're very good about accommodating Jewish observance, but doing it in a way that really makes Jewish students fully a part of the university. And so they don't have specific dorms that are only for the students who need a special key on Shabbat to get into their buildings, but you can live in any building on campus. And, the dining hall is open to everyone on a meal plan, which means it's very easy to bring friends who aren't Jewish to Shabbat dinner. And so the university's philosophy, I think, really is to try to introduce people from different backgrounds to their freshman roommate groups. Okay, so next question. Do Jewish students join eating clubs? And maybe say what eating clubs are in case people don't know.
So me and Gabi are both in the Tiger Inn, which is an eating club, and we're both Jewish. So yes, Jewish students do join eating clubs. I would say, how many students do you think are in, there's a Jewish students in eating clubs group chat. I think there's probably like 40 people on it, maybe more.
Yeah, we're probably not reaching everyone.
Yeah, there's probably close to 100, maybe. I don't really know numbers, but there's a bunch of students in eating clubs.
What are eating clubs?
Oh, what are eating clubs? Yes. Eating clubs are these, when you're an upperclassman, most people are no longer on dining hall plans and instead either choose to be independent, which means you cook your own food, or they join an eating club, which is a group of 11 different buildings where they have full dining halls, and you join one of these clubs and then you eat all your meals there, and it's like a nice community where you make different friends. So there are definitely Jews in eating clubs. I think different eating clubs have different ways of accommodating for dietary restrictions, if that's a concern. I know the one that I'm in has a lot of vegetarian options, and there's like a huge salad bar at most of them. You can also get packaged lunches from the CJL, I believe, at the eating clubs. You just have to plan it in advance so that they would know that they help you set that up.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's feasible if you're looking for that.
So at this point, I think we've answered most of the questions that have been posted. And so I want to ask my own questions until more questions come up. Just from the students' perspective, what's something you think is particularly unique about Jewish life at Princeton?
I'll say that for me, it's the communal nature. I think that I've been to a lot of schools and visited friends, and I think what really has stood out to me about my Princeton experience has been the way in which it feels like one community. It's not the Orthodox community and everybody else. It's not the kids who are involved in Jewish life and then everyone else. It feels like one community within the Jewish community where you have people from amazingly different Jewish backgrounds and observance levels, geographically, religiously, all of the above, coming together and talking, and you'll meet people you never met before, and you'll share Jewish experiences with people you'll never thought you'd talk to ever in your life. And then you'll do that with the greater campus community. You'll do that with people who maybe have never met a Jew before, and they'll actually come and engage with someone who's only spent their life in Jewish spaces, or someone who didn't really even know that they were Jewish until coming to Princeton, or didn't identify as Jewish until they came to Princeton and saw that there was this amazing, vibrant Jewish life. And so it's this feeling of warmth and community that I think really sets it apart. And I think it goes back to, the student leaders that we have and amazing people that we get, and you all who are watching this, you're going to be part of this community. And then it's the university and the staff here are really the nicest people ever. They make this place what it can be.
Yeah, I mean, Gabi covered a lot of my thoughts, but I think just like one specific thing that I think makes a huge difference is the fact that the dining hall is like we said before, but like the fact that anyone can swipe into the dining hall, and the fact that it's open 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, makes it so that it's really easy to, even if like you keep fully kosher, to totally like be friends with people and like get meals with people who don't keep kosher as strictly, because it works like any other meal plan, which just, yeah, makes, because of so much of Princeton, like social time, I feel like is centered around meals sometimes. It makes it really easy to have integrated friend groups.
Did you want to add anything?
I was going to say what Gabi said, but he covered most of it. But just another thing is, one of my things that I really appreciate is on Shabbat, since I keep Shabbat, and that means that I'm not using my phone. So sometimes it's hard to find like where my friends are. You have to like plan it in advance and work out like where you're going to meet and what time exactly. So what I found really successful is just hanging out at the CJ all day. And then I know that there's a bunch of students there who will also be observing Shabbat with me or not, and they'll know where I am. And then I'll like do work there or read, or like some people bring hammocks and we like sit on like outside on the grass together, which is just really fun and like a nice way to spend my weekend and like relax a little bit.
And I'll just add from my perspective that Princeton is one of the most supportive universities in the whole country of Jewish life. And it's really amazing how they support the CGL building and the dining hall, and they helped build an A-roof for more observant students. And it just in so many ways, Princeton University shows its commitment to Jewish life like year after year. And so it's a great place to be Jewish. It's also a great place to be a student in general. So as we take this last call for questions, I'm going to throw out one more question to our panelists, which is just, what's the best thing about being a student at Princeton overall?
I mean, I'll say if any of you have read the book Evicted, it's by a professor here named Matthew Desmond. It's about the eviction crisis in poor families, and it won the Pulitzer Prize 2 years ago. And it's incredibly moving. If you haven't seen it, look it up. But he's a professor here. I'm taking his class, and every week this semester, I literally sat in a room with 10 other people and him, and talked about the book and the rest of his work on combating extreme poverty in America. And that's like, this guy is one of the foremost experts. He's like a huge deal, and yet he really cares about our students. I've emailed him a bunch of times, like getting more involved with, he has collected all this data, and I'm probably going to use it for my senior thesis next year. And he's been super helpful with that. And this is like, every other day he's like, oh, I can't, I can't talk for too long. I have to catch my train down to DC. So that's, like one little example.
30.
Ariel?
For me, one of my favorite things has definitely been like just all the opportunities you have to create whatever you want. So I think the prime example is a friend of mine really wanted to like open a coffee shop. So he spent like probably about close to a year developing like a student group called the Coffee Club, and recently just opened a coffee shop in one of the buildings on campus, selling coffee to students at cheaper prices, more, it's like a different part of campus that is more convenient for me on my way to classes. And it just speaks to the nature of like what Princeton will let you do. They're really committed to undergrads, and like I personally feel that a lot, in like being able to do what I want, join the clubs that I want.
Yeah, I guess one thing that kind of sticks out is like different from my high school experience, at least. I feel like everyone is just so like honestly invested in the material that they're learning in class, and so interested in it, to the point where like I feel like almost every other day, like my dinner conversations with my friends are about like interesting things we're studying, and like people like clearly being really like studying because they're actually interested and not just for a grade. Although like obviously like it's like a hardworking, like in sometimes intense environment, but people are really able to take classes that get their brains going for the sake of the material and not just like for building their resume or like because it's a requirement or something like that.
And I'll just add, from my perspective, one of the things I love most about Princeton is the Princeton spirit. There's a spirit about the students while they're here, but also the alumni throughout their lives. It's kind of unbelievable until you see reunions and the spirit of one of those, they call it P-raids, like a Princeton parade that they have with these crazy orange costumes. I mean, there's really nothing like it. And even though I didn't go to Princeton as an undergrad, having worked here for 14 years, it's very infectious. And there's just a sense of gratitude and love and sense of community and connection here at Princeton. It's really wonderful about the university in general, and also about the Jewish community in particular. So I wanted to end by saying, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out by email. My email is rabbi@princeton.edu, so it's pretty easy. And if I can't answer the question, I'm happy to pass it along to these students or other students. And if you have questions about Princeton in general, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. there is a webinar about academics, and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. there's one about campus life. Thank you so much, Gabi and Ariel and Marie Rose, for sharing your stories with everyone, and thank you all for joining us. Have a good night. Happy Passover.
Bye, guys.
Good night.